It cost $15 million to build, and the ribbon-cutting ceremony was delayed in 1985 because of the faulty plumbing system when a pipe seal burst caused $275,000 worth of damage. And that wasn't the first occurrence. Earlier, before the building was even finished, a sprinkler system went awry, flooding what was to be a state judge's office. In 1987, just 2 years after the building was complete, $15,000 had to be spent to waterproof plumbing that by that point everyone knew was faulty. The mold from decades worth of leaking pipes and the health effects on employees are just becoming known, and that will be the subject of another report. For now, commissioners are beginning to realize the problem on their hands, and Don Grantham, among other commissioners, are calling for emergency action. Expect that action to come tomorrow, and there's a lot more to this story, so stay tuned. Scott Hudson, WGAC News. The problem is that the leaking pipes in question are entombed within the structure. You can't get to them. The product of an architectural design that is every bit as faulty as the pipes themselves. Collection pans have been set up to collect leaking water, allowing for the growth of hazardous mold. Those same water pipes cannot be cleaned or replaced, and reportedly, the tap water coming in is blue in color from the corrosion. We are told that same water is the water that goes into the coffee served to sheriff's employees every morning. The mold that is formed from decades of leaking pipes and the health effects on employees will be the subject of another report. But one major point of irony is that the inmates are safe from the leaks and the mold. Only the sheriff's office employees have to deal with the problem. For now, commissioners are beginning to realize the situation on their hands, and Don Grantham, among other commissioners, are calling for emergency action. Expect that action to come tomorrow. And there is more to this story. Stay tuned. Scott Hudson, WGAC News. After years of leaking pipes and sudden floods of raw sewage, the law enforcement center is now completely infested with mold. A 2004 study conducted warns of significant health risks. Mold is on the ceilings, on the walls, in the file cabinets, and around the windows. Sheriff's office employees have reported fatigue, memory loss, nosebleeds, respiratory ailments, burning eyes, fibromyalgia, headaches, and diarrhea, all symptoms of mold poisoning. Employees say the Augusta Risk Management Department has done too little to help, and the sheriff says he too has had enough.
The relocation of everybody that works in this building is going to be a massive undertaking. It's nothing that we can do overnight. So I think we've got to go ahead and take that first step, and hopefully within a 12-month period we can be out of this building.
During our interview, workers were repairing yet another leak in the administrative office. It's pretty much clear to everyone that section of the building needs to be demolished. So who is chiefly responsible for this nightmare? Stay tuned. We'll tell you. Scott Hudson, WGAC News. Imagine your doctor telling you that you can no longer go to work because the building you work in is endangering your health. That is the case with several sheriff's office employees. The problem? After years of leaking pipes, the law enforcement center is now infested with mold. A 2004 study conducted warns of significant danger. Mold is on the ceilings, the walls, and around the windows. The study calls for follow-up tests after the recommendations are followed, but there is no evidence that the Augusta Risk Management Department followed the recommendations or conducted those further tests. Sheriff's office employees say risk management knew all of the details and for years did nothing. The bottom line is employees report fatigue, memory loss, nosebleeds, respiratory ailments, burning eyes, fibromyalgia, headaches, and diarrhea, all symptoms of mold poisoning. And for years, the pleas of the sheriff, his staff, and the documented evidence provided by a local engineering firm apparently fell on deaf ears. However, those ears are now perking up as people are beginning to realize the health damages could result in a massive lawsuit. Scott Hudson, WGAC News. The $15 million investment in the jail is basically a bust. So who, if anyone, is to blame for this disaster? We'll start with the architects. The building was designed so that the pipes were buried in the structure and cannot be maintained or replaced. Then move on to the contractors, whose material left a lot to be desired. However, one man was largely in charge of the design, planning, and construction of the jail, former Richmond County Administrator Dayton Sherrouse. The project was so important to him that he stayed on as a consultant when he changed employment and moved on to, of all things, executive director of Augusta Tomorrow. And the irony doesn't stop there. Sherrouse was the point man in creating the jail that is now being called the Walton Way Aquarium, and these days he's in charge of Augusta's most important industrial body of water, the Augusta Canal. When contacted, Sherrouse defended himself and said the current problems were due to poor maintenance by the sheriff's office. However, it is documented that those problems, which have now created a health nightmare, were evident before anyone ever moved into that building. Scott Hudson, WGAC News.